All right. So again, thank you guys for joining this candid conversation with entrepreneurs. So this started back in 2019 when I was a graduate student here at the University of Memphis. And so what I did initially was started to interview student entrepreneurs here at the Cruise Center to kind of get their backstory why they got into entrepreneurship. And so it worked out very well for me in terms of me doing some broadcast type journalism as opposed to writing. And so I started offering it for local entrepreneurs here in Memphis, Tennessee. And what I've done over the past couple of years, because COVID kind of shut down what I was doing from an in-person perspective, so I've taken this virtual, and we're going to try to include not only entrepreneurs but also those resources that help entrepreneurs. So I'm going to start off by introducing the panelists. I'm going to give just a brief overview about you, and then you can add more to that if you would like. So I'm going to start with Chelsea. So Chelsea is the communications manager for HBCU VC, which is a nonprofit organization focused on mobilizing the next generation of innovators, investors, and entrepreneurs. And she is a former writer and editor of Georgetown University. Next, we have Jada Davis. She is an author and entrepreneur. She helps individuals learn how to land their dream jobs and also monetize their talents. Her latest book, Don't Let Your Mouth Get You in Trouble, which focuses on helping entrepreneurs with marketing and understanding how to use an e-commerce platform. Next, we have Jarlicia Jones. Jarlicia is the Vice President of Lending at Pathway Memphis, which is a nonprofit organization and a community development financial institution based in Nashville. She is a native Memphian, and her parents were entrepreneurs, and she worked after school at her parents' businesses. So that's how she became exposed to entrepreneurship. And so now she works at Pathway trying to help entrepreneurs with lending and also education. And then last but not least, we have Justin Key, who is an author and entrepreneur, a native of Rossville, Tennessee. He went to Los Angeles back in, well, 15 years ago to pursue a career in acting. And so he's done commercials for major brands like Walmart, Ross Stores, Burlington, and voiceovers. And he's also a consultant for diversity, equity, and inclusion. So welcome you guys to this panel discussion about independent contracting as well as freelancing. So if you all want to start say a little bit about your backstory, and I'll just ask questions based off of what I emailed to you. But if there's some additional questions that come up, then we can ask those as well. So kind of tell us a little bit what your journey has been as an entrepreneur. And anyone can go first.
I'll jump in. So Jada Davis here. I like Jarlicia. I am the product of serial entrepreneurs. I was working at my mother's and my father's real estate company, mortgage company, property management company. We've always had businesses within the real estate industry. And so I'm not only the product of serial entrepreneurs, about 75% of my family is entrepreneurs in some aspect. And so I have grown up with a very unique perspective about business and Black business in particular. I was going to business conferences at 15 and 16 years old. And I wrote about in my book, which I'll talk about more later, of how, I was really trying to get my friends like excited about a business conference right at 15, and couldn't understand why they weren't excited about it, but have now, I mean, we were 15, we were teenagers, but it was all I knew. And so from my personal relationships, friendships, and family, our conversations are candid and can ebb and flow between, pop culture to sports to business to what we talk, what we did last night, but it's been a natural flow of that. And so I know that it's not everybody's experience. And so I love that I've had that experience and I wrote a book about it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tag. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
tag team after Jada. So I'm what you would call initially it's called a necessity entrepreneur, where you start doing entrepreneurship because it's a necessity. So after I moved to Los Angeles, the writer's strike hit, which meant that the entire industry was pretty much shut down. So I ended up using my degree in mathematics that I got from Lemoyne and started a tutoring company here in Beverly Hills. And initially I thought that, oh, this is just going to be part-time because, I'm going to be Denzel in 6 months. And next thing I know, 4 years later, clients everywhere. And there was still so much that I didn't know. I realized earlier that I'm the type of learner that needs to be in a structured environment. So I ended up going and getting my MBA in entrepreneurship, which it just helped me tremendously to see things in a way that I understood it. And then I ended up teaching entrepreneurship for 5 years on the collegiate level, and then consulting in entrepreneurship. I'm pretty sure I didn't even know how to spell entrepreneurship when I first started. I was like, does the E come before the U? Does it come before? I had no idea. But I knew that there had to be a better way. And, once I sat down and structured myself and, was able to get some things disciplined in my routine, I was able to really thrive in this world of entrepreneurship.
Okay. So for me, I guess my journey to entrepreneurship, I feel like I don't even necessarily consider myself that. A lot of what I do is freelance and contract work. And that really came about after, going through my 4 years at HBCU. I went to Winston-Salem State University, shout out to the Rams. And I feel like it kind of just grew on me. For those who are familiar with HBCUs, I feel like those are cornerstones for innovation. You're going to find a hustler, somebody trying to make ends meet, trying to make things happen on campus, on the yard. And I started to get motivated around that. Like, okay, they're using skills that they pick up, in the classroom, and they're turning it into something outside of like when they're in class. And so my introduction into kind of taking a chance on myself, that's kind of what I really term it as. I take a chance on myself and I look at my skills. Was doing a lot of like editing, web design, web management for fellow small business owners. And so that's a lot of what my work consists of. And then I was just picking up jobs as a freelance writer for some publications and things like that, because at the end of the day, I loved to write and create content. So I didn't want to let that go. And a lot of that really serves in what I do now with my role in HBCU VC. So my journey has had some twists and turns, but just always remembering to kind of like bet on myself at the end of the day.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jarlicia Jones, and it's an honor to just be up here with the other panelists because I'm not an entrepreneur. You guys are, facing the challenges day in and day out of entrepreneurship. I'm more so on the other end of really supporting entrepreneurs. As Ms. Anderson shared, and like many of us, or all people, we have family members and friends that are entrepreneurs. But when I was younger, I worked in my parents' store in high school. So very aware of what was happening, how the business impacted them mentally, financially, all of the aspects, because I wasn't a little child just going to the store playing around. I was 16, 17, 18. And the store did not do well, I'll be honest. Like, it was really a strain on my family. And when Pathway was introduced to me, I wish that they had that resource because I knew it would have ultimately changed the entire direction of their business. And it probably would have been in existence today. So my background is in accounting and finance. And as I was going through my classes, I'm like, I know exactly, what went wrong with their business. I was able to identify it, but they just didn't have that knowledge. So being able to work at Pathway and to support entrepreneurs has been so fulfilling for me. So I'll just talk about a little bit about Pathway. So we're a CDFI, which means Community Development Financial Institution. We're around to help really minority, women-owned, African-American-owned businesses. That's our target market, people who look just like me, who, went out, jumped in, and are actually doing entrepreneurship. And so what we do is a mixture of lending. Yes, we do provide small business loans, but in addition to that, we do education. And so I started off with Pathway as a small business advisor working one-on-one with their clients. And then I moved into the women's business and the director role. And there it was so much fun. We created various workshops and classes to support entrepreneurs on the topic of finance, accounting, marketing, operations, whatever you need to know to really legitimize, grow, and scale your business. So many people I talk to, love their passion, understand it. It's a side hustle, but how long are you going to be a side hustle to really make it a legitimate business? And so that's why we're there to really help people understand all of the business acumen. Even if you go to school and you major in business, you still don't learn every single aspect of how to run a small business operation. And so that's why we're around Pathway Lending. It's throughout the entire state of Tennessee. I'm the VP of Lending here in Memphis. And so, thank you, Ms. Anderson, for allowing me to be here and participate in the Candid Conversations. So I look forward to it.
Okay, so thank you guys for that introduction and a little bit of information about your story. So my intern, Michaela Thomas, she developed these questions. So I had her to actually do these questions from her perspective. So she's a college student at Lamont College, and she could not attend because she had an exam scheduled during this time. So, but these are her questions. So I'm going to give her credit for that. So the first question is, what do you think is the most significant challenge facing small businesses today? Chelsea, why don't you answer that first, since you talked about the side hustle starting in school?
I don't know. I guess I have like a unique perspective because also my work at HBCU VC, not only are we trying to get HBCU students in the door in venture capital, because venture capital is very much what's the word I want to use? Not much is known about it. It's very much, you gotta invite only, you have to look a certain way, white, male, rich, Elon Musk type levels. But I think the thing that is most challenging, obviously, is being taken seriously enough to get funding and get support in those critical stages, particularly for founders who are trying to do those startups. And then just like with any small business, I think, I don't know, I feel like it's really one of those challenges of seeing it through in those dark moments, because a lot of times those are not the highly publicized parts of the journey of being a small business owner, especially if you're doing it on your own. I've seen a lot of friends get burnt out because they're trying to do it all by themselves and they don't really delegate to a team. Like the mentality of like, I know what my vision is. I don't want it to get diluted or, manipulated in any way. And it turns out that, a lot of their administrative tasks and things like that, they're carrying a lot of that on their shoulders. So that's one thing that kind of just jumps out, like the delegating and trusting and forming a team and a community of support around you when things kind of hit the fan a little bit.
To add to that, so something that I haven't shared is that I'm an entrepreneur, but I also work in HR. I'm a recruiting manager in tech, and I'm going to say blessed to be in the role that I am in now, because I work for a company called Klaviyo that I actually was a customer for first. So Klaviyo is an email text marketing automation business. Our competitors are like MailChimp. But what makes us special is that our target audience, or a much larger sector, I should say, is e-commerce businesses. So you all know the last 2 years when we were at home, people had to, if you had a business or wanted a business, you had to have a strong digital presence. And if you were brick and mortar, you had to pivot to online. And so Klaviyo was in the right place at the right time. And so I was actually a customer of Klaviyo, as well as some of my customers. I was actually doing their content creation on Klaviyo. And so after that, I found the role. And so because I understand marketing, And my background is also in journalism, and I used to be a radio producer for Tom Joyner. I've done a lot of things, but marketing is like my love. I love it. And what I know is that a lot of times when people start a business, especially a solopreneur or a small team, sometimes they don't really understand their target audience, and it's not enough to say that this is my target audience and this is who I want to market to. They don't know. Sometimes business owners don't know how that person shops or buys, or where they're looking for products or services, and what message has to be said to them for it to click, as well as like how many times they need to see it for it to resonate with them. And so with, what I do extremely well, and what I do. And when I tell people all the various things I do, they're always like, well, how do you do it? I automate everything. And so and when I say everything, I mean the business admin processes that can be automated, I do from the very beginning. And so I show business owners how to do the exact same thing so that they can then focus on more revenue generating activities. And so when it comes to like marketing, like knowing that if you're targeting to mothers or parents in general with small children, then you should probably consider a platform like a Pinterest, or Facebook may or may not be your target audience. Like just knowing like where and when and how is very important. So that's a huge hurdle, like just really understanding your customer avatar. And then I think also another thing could probably be, to your point, Chelsea, about just like delegating. Yes, I think delegating is an issue, but sometimes when people are starting out, they're like, I don't have the resources. Like, how do I delegate? I'm not ready for that. And so that means that they're doing a lot of the tasks, which is kind of where the automation comes into play. Like, what can you take off of your plate and let a computer do, which it's time consuming up front, but you can do it, but it pays off on the back end. I had a customer recently that she has done absolutely nothing to market her apparel line. And when I showed her the analytics for the month, the last 30 days, all of the revenue, well, not all of it, but like 70% of her revenue came from the automation of the email sequences I set up originally. So to catch abandoned cart, meaning when somebody wants to order something, but they don't complete the purchase and it's just sitting in their cart, which a lot of us do on purpose to remind us. Or another thing that I have been doing for her on a monthly basis, I actually just do email campaigns because she didn't want it to be like very salesy. So monthly emails go out to her customers that are just kind of educating them on her. It's like a mental health brand, on different aspects of mental health, resources, tools, tips, all those things. And when I showed her, she was blown away. She was in tears actually, because she felt so bad that she hasn't done anything for her business. And when I showed her the power of marketing, she was like, say less, like, I'm all in, I believe it. And so just little things like that, I think people often just don't know. We don't know. So sometimes people just are not educated on like the tools that could really help them. Even the smallest thing, like from scheduling. So no matter what business you're in, you may be scheduling a service, or if you do a customized type of product, or if you like service-based business, like if you're a financial planner, you have calendars, or if you are selling something, people should be able to just go to your website and order it. Or if they requires like more information, there should be a form for that. And so a lot of times we spend a lot of times going back and forth, trying to get on the same schedule, trying to make sure that our schedules align, and asking questions back and forth. And so you spend so much time doing that, you miss out on really doing the business development side of things, or whatever it is to really generate income for you.
Okay, so before we get another panelist to kind of chime in on that, I want to kind of say a few things. One of the things that you mentioned is that you got to identify your customer. And so even though you may have a good product, you may have a good service, but if you don't know who that individual person is, then that's going to be the barrier for you getting the sales and getting yourself out there. So I guess what I would like to ask now is, what should be the first step? Now, this conversation is about freelancing, independent contracting. So what should be the first step? So I'll ask Justin, since he started his tutoring business. So what was your first step in trying to get that going? And then Jarlicia, if you can kind of add to that as it relates to how your parents needed the knowledge that they needed in order for their business to survive.
Mhm. Thank you for that question, Paula. I'll say the first two would be preparation and operations. And everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants 1 million clients. Everyone wants all this money coming in. But can you handle that? Do you have the operation set up? Like Jada said, are your processes automated? Like, what are you doing with, where are you spending your time when you could have it going somewhere else? So I think that that's super important. I know when I started the tutoring company, I was like, what all do I need before I first say anything about entrepreneurship, before I say anything about the business, before I go to social media and market? Like, what do I need? Like, do I have all the skills ready? Do I have all of the things that you need to run a business? That was, of course, a service business, and the startup costs were very minimal. However, for those that are selling a product or service, don't just create a t-shirt line and post it on Facebook. It's like, how are people paying? Do you have a business bank account set up? Is anyone helping you? Have you hired a virtual assistant? Do you even have an email signature on your email? Are you still emailing from babygirl707@gmail.com? Set up your processes, set up your preparation so that when you officially say, hey, I am in business, y'all, boom, I'm ready to accept my first client. I'm ready to accept my first payment. I'm just thinking about all of that because I know people typically initially want to go out and get funding. And my first thing is, when teaching entrepreneurship, was like, well, what are you going to do with it? Why do you need the money? Like, I don't like these PPP loans. Like, I'm like, y'all, I understand that it looks attractive, but justify it for yourself. I understand that the government will give you this money, but justify it yourself. Be ready to accept one client and 10,000 clients. So preparation and operations, I would suggest, is the very first step for me and my mindset as it relates to that particular process.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Justin. And what everyone has shared so far has been great. I would say if you're starting out as an entrepreneur, that's research and development time. You're reading as much as possible. You're studying your potential competitors, seeing how they're doing it. You're really trying to understand how to efficiently operate a business and really get an understanding of what you're getting yourself into. I have opportunity to talk to small business owners every day. And my first question is, do you like this? Because it's going to be what you live and breathe every single day, day in and day out. It's not going to be a standard 9 to 5. It's going to be your entire life. You don't turn it off. What else I would say is, comparing it back to my parents, this was the early 2000s, right? YouTube University was not a thing. Having access to all of these articles. One of my favorite websites, which I'll drop in chat, is a small business. And it has a topic on every single aspect of a business you can ever think of, which is great. You can read as much information as possible, but people go to university for a reason, right? For things that you can't teach yourself, you need to go to someone who can explain it to you. So I would say immediately to connect with entrepreneurial ecosystems that are out there. So just thinking about Memphis, Pathway Lending, we have an entire educational arm. There's the Memphis Epicenter. Local universities have entrepreneurial programs. Go ahead and get connected in there because they'll be able to steer you in the right direction and provide networking opportunities from other entrepreneurs that you'll get to meet, talk to firsthand. When there are grant opportunities or anything that could impact your business, you'll be in the know and someone will know you to be able to advocate on your behalf. The next key piece of it, like Justin was saying, is you have to prepare. And Jada, who your target marketing audience is, who are you directly speaking to? How are you going to get in contact with them? I can pinpoint seeing things that pop up on Instagram. I was at Target looking for a chair, and then I went to Instagram, and that same chair was on Instagram. Like, how does Target do that? I don't know, but they know that I was, interested in looking for chairs. The second piece I would say is have your finances in order. Personally, because those habits that you have for yourself will also go into your business. So if you spend every single penny that you make from your personal paycheck, you're going to do that same habit for your business. And so I would encourage everyone, if you're starting a business, to take some small business financing courses so you can look at your numbers, manage your account, understand how much I'm spending versus how much I'm bringing in. is this business profitable? You know, you might be doing something that you thoroughly enjoy, but secret here, the ultimate goal of business is to make money. So if you're spending more than you're making, sorry, at some point that becomes a hobby. And either you need to look at it and realize, okay, where do I need to adjust my finances? And then the last piece, really just to reiterate what Chelsea was saying, is you have to be flexible. In small business, things are changing, evolving. The world that we live in being technology based, your customer needs, clients' wants will be changing day in and day out. And how will you be able to meet their needs? What 2020 and 2021 taught us? So many life lessons. And so I know it's a hard struggle because there'll be entrepreneurs who are dead set on what they're doing, but you have to be flexible and change some elements of your business and be okay with that, because the more you learn, the more you know, it'll be advantageous for your business overall.